look at what it says there. He claims that CERN destroyed the universe during recent experiments, which has resulted in us living in a nearby parallel universe instead.
He is barely old enough to drive, and he may be one of the smartest kids alive. On camera, calm and certain, he makes a claim about CERN so wild that grown physicists have gone quiet. He is not describing a school experiment. He is saying the largest machine humanity has ever built did something to reality itself, something he believes was quietly done to every one of us and then buried.
World's smartest kid thinks that CERN blew the world up in 2008.
Right now, that claim is racing across the internet faster than anyone can debunk it, and everyone is circling the same impossible question. What if the kid is right? Brilliance has no age. Think about who you actually trust to explain the world to you. A parent, a teacher, somebody with letters after their name. Almost never a kid. We are all quietly trained to believe that understanding is something you earn by getting older. But brilliance has never once checked a birth certificate at the door. And the boy at the center of tonight's story is about to prove it. His name is Max Laughlin. If you have ever wandered into the stranger corners of the internet at 2 in the morning, you have almost certainly seen his face. He first pulled people in as a teenager who could sit in front of a camera and talk about the structure of reality itself, with a calm that made grown adults uneasy. At 13, he built and demonstrated a device he called a free energy machine and walked his audience through exactly how he believed a technology like that could change the way every person on Earth lives. Millions of them listened, and history was already on his side. Malala Yousafzai was still a teenager when she stared down armed men who wanted girls kept out of school, and the world handed her its highest honor for it. Elizabeth Nance was barely into her 20s at Johns Hopkins, building nanoparticles small enough to slip through living brain tissue and carry medicine where nothing else could reach. Genius, it turns out, arrives whenever it pleases. But here's the part that actually mattered. It was never Max's machine that rattled the physicists. It was the thing he said next. The claim. Here is what he actually argues, in his own videos, in his own words. Max believes the experiments run deep inside CERN's Large Hadron Collider did something no official statement will ever admit to. He does not think the machine merely studied reality. He believes it tore it. To feel the weight of that, you have to sit with how he pictures the universe. In his telling, there is not one single reality. He argues there are countless versions of it, an endless stack of nearly identical worlds pressed invisibly against our own. He describes an original timeline, the one we were all born into, and then a moment of rupture, an anomaly during an experiment, he suggests, that threw humanity clean off its track and scattered us across an infinite number of almost matching universes. According to him, we are not living in the world we started in. We slipped sideways into a copy. He pushes the picture even further. In his version, the branching never stops. Every single moment, he suggests, reality is splitting again, peeling off into fresh copies faster than anyone could ever count, so that the world you are sitting in right now is only one flickering frame in an endless reel. It is a dizzying idea. It is also, unsettlingly, not entirely alien to real physics, where certain interpretations of quantum mechanics genuinely entertain the existence of many worlds. The difference is that Max takes that cold mathematical possibility and treats it as something that actually happened to you, triggered by a machine buried under Switzerland. And CERN, he claims, knows. He goes further still. He suggests that once the scientists noticed the anomaly in the fabric of space and time, they did not sound any alarm. They studied it. They learned to work with it. And in doing so, he argues, they quietly edited events that were never meant to change, which is how he explains why so many of us seem to carry memories of a world that no longer matches the one we are standing in. It is a staggering accusation. And the reason it did not simply get laughed off the internet is that it hooks straight into something you have probably felt yourself, that faint nagging sense that some small detail of the world is off, that a name is spelled wrong now, that a memory does not quite line up with the record. Max gave that private, creeping feeling a machine to blame. And once you have a place where the crack supposedly happened, the whole thing stops feeling like a story and starts feeling like a location you could almost drive to. If this is the kind of question that keeps you up at night, the quiet gap between what we are told and what we secretly suspect, Then do one thing for me right now and hit subscribe. This is exactly where this channel lives, week after week, and you do not want to be somewhere else when we walk through the next door. Because before you decide whether a teenager cracked the biggest secret in modern physics, you and I need to go down and look at this machine for ourselves. And I promise you, the machine is almost as strange as the claim. The machine. The Large Hadron Collider is the single most powerful particle accelerator ever built, and every inch of it is real. Picture the descent. You leave the green countryside on the border between France and Switzerland, step into an elevator, and drop. Down past the roots, past the rock, somewhere between roughly 160 and nearly 600 feet beneath the surface, until the daylight is only a memory and the air turns cool and still and faintly electric against your skin. Down there runs a circular tunnel close to 17 miles around, a concrete ring hidden beneath farms and towns whose people have no idea it is humming under their feet. The machine takes two beams of particles, accelerates them to a whisper below the speed of light, and drives them straight into one another. In the instant they meet, in a collision smaller than anything your eye could register, they release a spray of matter and energy that briefly recreates conditions unseen since the first fractions of a second after the Big Bang. For one flickering moment, underground, human beings conjure an echo of the birth of the universe, then photograph the wreckage and try to read it like tea leaves. You do not need a portal to make what CERN does extraordinary, but the darker talk did not come from nowhere. Long before Max Laughlin was born, serious people were already whispering a far more frightening question about this machine. Not whether it would open a door to another world, whether it might quietly destroy this one. The machine that might end the world. When the collider was still blueprints, a real fear moved through the scientific community. Some worried that slamming particles together at such violent energies might create a microscopic black hole, one that might not wink out of existence the way the math hoped. It might grow, and in the darkest version of the thought, begin to eat the Earth from the inside. In the year 2000, an Italian physicist named Francesco Calogero, a longtime figure in the pugwash movement that shared the Nobel Peace Prize in 1995, published an essay whose title tells you everything. Might a laboratory experiment destroy planet Earth? A serious question that lit a fuse burning for years. The dread went mainstream. A satirical news program sent a correspondent to poke at the story, and one of the people they put on camera claimed the experiment carried a 50-50 chance of spawning a black hole that could swallow the world. A coin flip for the survival of everyone you have ever loved, delivered on live television with a perfectly straight face. So, the program went to CERN and asked the scientists building the machine. Their answer was flat and firm. The Large Hadron Collider was never designed as a doomsday device, and the black hole nightmare did not hold up, because the Earth is pelted every single day by cosmic rays carrying far more energy than anything the collider produces, and you are still here to worry about it. The machine switched on. The world did not end, but that fear never fully died. Max Laughlin simply gave it a new shape and pointed it somewhere no physicist had thought to look. The memory that never happened. The story he reached for has a strange and specific beginning. In 2009, a woman named Fiona Broom was standing in a crowded conference room, drink in hand, making easy small talk, when the conversation drifted toward a memory she was certain of. She remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison back in the 1980s. She remembered the news coverage, the grief. There was only one problem. It never happened. Nelson Mandela walked out of prison alive, became the president of South Africa, and did not die until 2013. Now, here, is the moment that should raise the hair on your arms. What unsettled Broom was not that she had gotten it wrong, it was that she had not gotten it wrong alone. As she spoke, the people around her began to nod. They remembered it too. The same false funeral, the same televised mourning, the same vivid details held by strangers who had never met, recalling an event the record swears never took place. She gave the phenomenon a name, built a website, and the idea spread like fire. Brand names spelled differently than we all remember. Lines from famous films that were never actually spoken. Whole shared memories that simply do not match reality. The comforting explanation is that memory is unreliable, that your brain rebuilds the past instead of replaying it. and that false memories spread through a crowd like a rumor. It is reasonable, and for most people, it is more than enough. But it was never enough for Max Laughlin. To him, he argues, this is not a glitch in our brains at all. He believes it is a glitch in reality. Proof, he suggests, that we crossed from one version of the world into another, and that the tiny mismatches we keep tripping over are the seams showing. You cannot prove it, but you may find you cannot completely dismiss it either. And that uneasy middle ground is exactly where his theory does its quiet work, which leaves one question you cannot look away from. What has this machine been pulling out of the dark down there? What the machine actually found. Strip away the portals and parallel worlds, and the true story of this collider is still one of the most ambitious things our species has ever dared. Scientists use the machine to test the standard model, the rulebook that describes almost every particle and force we know of. It explains nearly everything, but not quite, and the gaps are exactly what keep physicists awake at night. Since it was finished in 2008, the collider has lived through a series of long runs, each broken up by years of shutdown. Its first ran from 2010 to 2013, its second from 2015 to 2018. And right in the middle sits its crowning triumph. In 2012, scientists confirmed the Higgs boson, the particle that helps explain why anything has mass at all. It was the exact discovery the machine had been dreamed up to make, but there was a hope that went unanswered. Physicists were quietly certain the collider would finally reveal dark matter, the mystery that truly haunts modern science. Most of the matter in the universe is invisible. You cannot see it, cannot catch it in any instrument ever built. We only know it is there because we feel its gravity holding entire galaxies together. It is the unseen scaffolding of the cosmos, and we have no earthly idea what it is made of. And beyond the Higgs, the particle they were counting on never showed up. Then came something else entirely. In early 2022, scientists combing through the wreckage of the collisions announced they had spotted what they called X particles, named for their sheer mystery. These were fleeting, ghostly things, born in the trillion-degree soup of quarks and gluons that existed a few millionths of a second after the Big Bang, before it cooled into the protons and neutrons that make up you and everything you have ever touched. To find them, researchers had to sift through something like 13 billion collisions, hunting a signal almost too faint to be real. They still do not fully understand how those particles form. And that gap, the honest admission that the people running the most advanced machine on Earth do not have the full picture, is exactly the crack a claim like Max's needs. Because when the experts themselves say we are not sure, some quiet part of you leans in and wonders who else might be right. Why the claim would not die. Let me be honest about why this claim refuses to die, because it says something uncomfortable about all of us. Part of it is the messenger. When the person making the impossible claim is a visibly gifted kid, something in you hesitates before you laugh. You have been wrong to underestimate a bright child before, and you know it. So, when Max Laughlin talks about the collapse of reality without blinking, a small voice whispers, what if he sees something the rest of us are too old and too comfortable to notice? Part of it is the machine. CERN makes the perfect villain, and not because it has ever done anything sinister. It is because almost nobody outside of physics can tell you what actually happens down in that tunnel. It is enormous, secretive by being buried hundreds of feet underground, and it recreates the birth of the universe in the dark. When something is that powerful and that impossible to picture, your mind cannot stand the silence, so it fills it with a story. A doorway to another dimension is a far better story than a spreadsheet of particle decay, and you know which one you would rather stay up thinking about. And part of it, if we are being honest, is you. Every one of us has felt that cold flicker of doubt about a memory. A song lyric you would have sworn went another way. A logo that looks wrong now. A childhood detail that no longer matches the record. Those fractures are almost certainly nothing more than the ordinary imperfection of a human mind. But they do not feel like nothing. They feel like a message someone left for you. And Max Laughlin handed millions of framework that turns that small, dismissible shiver into evidence of something enormous. That is the real engine underneath this whole thing, not proof, recognition. He described a feeling you already had and handed you a name for the thing to blame, which leaves the hardest question of the entire night still sitting there in the dark, waiting for you. What are you actually supposed to believe now? what we actually know. So, let me lay it out for you, as plainly as it can be put. There is no verified proof that the Large Hadron Collider ever opened a portal. There is no confirmed anomaly that flung humanity into a parallel universe. The scientists who run it describe something extraordinary but grounded, a tool for reaching deeper into matter than anyone in history, the one that gave us the Higgs boson and still hunts the invisible dark matter that outweighs everything we can see. The Mandela effect is real in one narrow sense. The shared false memories are real. Huge numbers of people genuinely do remember things that never happened. But the ordinary explanation, that memory is reconstructive and quietly contagious, accounts for all of it without the universe cracking down the middle. And Max Laughlin is real too. A bright young person who looked at one of the most mysterious machines on Earth and told a story millions found impossible to put down. His claim is not supported by the evidence, but it endures anyway, because it presses on something the evidence cannot reach. The quiet suspicion that reality is thinner and stranger and closer to the edge than anyone in charge is telling you. Maybe that suspicion is only the vertigo of being a small, brief creature adrift in an enormous cosmos. Maybe the boy is simply wrong in the fearless way only the very young are allowed to be. Or maybe, somewhere in that 17-mile ring beneath the mountains, science really has brushed up against something so large that we do not yet have the words to hold it. The honest answer is that we do not know, and that not knowing, not the portal, is the part that should quietly keep you up tonight. If you made it all the way here with me, then you are exactly the kind of person this channel was built for. Do me a favor and hit subscribe, so the next story finds you the moment it drops, and meet me in the comments and tell me straight. Do you think Max Laughlin is onto something real, or is this just the strangest machine on Earth playing tricks on every last one of us? I read every single reply, and I want to hear yours.